Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Black Moon Lilith, square opposition or inconjunct one's natal south node. Now, when we're talking about transits and Black Moon Lilith, well, it can be about trauma, suffering, the negative manifestation of the sign of nefarious and fixated energy. Now, in transit, Black Moon Lilith is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal south node. Well, I'm going to be kind and rewind and elaborate on that. When I say basically adverse aspect, okay, the squares and oppositions, those aspects in astrology are negative and adverse. But the inconjunct is neutral, but a neutral aspect can have good and bad qualities, and coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or a transition. And that in turn can cause some exasperation and tension. So basically, collectively, I do see this as an adverse transit. Now, anyway, again, the transit Black Moon Lilith basically makes an adverse aspect to one's natal south node. Well, it may manifest in trauma, suffering, negative manifestation of the sign, nefarious and fixated energy. Now, this may conflict with the past. That Maybe there's some suffering that you endured in the past and you're having trouble getting away from it. Say, for example, the transit Black Moon Lilith is in Pisces in the 11th house, or you have the, let's say the natal south node is in Pisces in the 11th house. It could be some betrayal or deception by a friend that might be harder to leave behind, to get away from in your mind. It might be something that's tied in, with a memory from the past. Or maybe this person that had deceived you, betrayed you, has resurfaced somehow. It might be where it might be causing more suffering at this time and more sorrow, more so than usual. It can also be about, let's say you had, let's say you have the south node in Capricorn, and you have that in the 12th house. Maybe there's some restrictions, with family, and for whatever reason, or there might be some more suffering, more sorrow in connection with that. As another example, it might be some, since the Black Moon Lilith is connected with physical and emotional trauma, there might be some physical related issue. Maybe you're trying to get away from, but maybe it's just very enduring and it's more stressful trying to cope with it at this time. Especially, let's say, if you have the transit of the Black Moon Lilith in the 1st or the 6th house. Now, the 1st house, of course, is associated with the physical body. 6th house corresponds with health-related issues. And if you have, say, the transit of the Black Moon Lilith, say, it's in Sagittarius, and it's in the 1st or 6th house especially, there might be some physical related issues connected with the liver, or could be something with the sciatic nerve or hips, or maybe even obesity. It can be something too where when you have this transit, it's not just about Black Moon Lilith. It's not just about physical trauma. It's associated with emotional trauma as well. It could be abuse. And if there's something where you're dealing with, some kind of something emotional that's very unsettling at this time, it could be more difficulty in going away from it, more so than usual at this time. If you're dealing, say, if the transit Black Moon Lilith, say if it's in it could be in Virgo in the 5th house. It could be some very judgmental or critical. It could be a child. It could be a romantic partner at this time. You might also be at this time as well. Black Moon Lilith is could be the negative manifestation of the sign that it's in, and the natal south node is what we're trying to get away from. But it's interesting because the south node, I believe, is energy that can affect one it could affect someone to one's detriment. So the thing is, this negative quality, the energy associated with the Black Moon Lilith, might be affecting the person more to their detriment, even more so. than usual. I mean, the transit Black Moon will say it's in Aquarius. It could be very, idiosyncratic or bizarre, non-conforming, rebellious behavior, and it might be causing, more negativity. Might be causing more sorrow at this time. Might be affecting you more negatively. Whether it's affecting a job prospect or what have you, or your relationships. Say if the transit Black Moon Lilith is in the 7th house, it might be affecting a connection you have with a marriage partner, significant other, relationships, others in general. If you're in a business partnership, even significant friendships. Another thing too is that the South Node is actually, it's interesting. The South Node, I see it as it could be something you're naturally proficient in as well. And the thing about it is, if you're dealing, with something, the Black Moon Lilith could be associated with what may put one in a strong state of fright or fear or trepidation. And if you're dealing with something in your life that's naturally, if it's frightening you, if it's scaring you, it's something that's making you very, apprehensive, worrisome, naturally, there's going to be more difficulty in focusing on, the things that you might feel comfortable in. The South Node could be what we're naturally proficient. I believe it's like our comfort zone. It's hard to it can be difficult to get away from it because it's energy that we feel we might naturally excel in, and we feel comfortable in. It can also be, at the time of this transit, okay, the South Node is also, could be connected with overdeveloped and redundant qualities. So it can be a time where, if you're dealing, it's important to remember that, the Black Moon Lilith is associated with obsession, fixation. It's very comparable to Plutonian energy. And, you might be, overly obsessed or fixated, again, going back to what you may naturally be proficient in the overdeveloped and redundant qualities of the South Node energy. I have my natal South Node in Virgo in the 5th house. So it might be really, analyzing things, maybe almost to death. In the 5th house, it could be something I enjoy. If somebody has, say they have, the natal South Node in Virgo in the 11th house as an example. It could be somebody that really, really analyzes, things like with astrology, almost to the point where it could be redundant, where it's kind of like trying to see the Dwad within the Dwad in astrology, in an astrological placement. It's really something too, and again, this is something where you might be in a situation too when you have this transit. Okay, again, going back to the South Node being associated with one's comfort zone. Again, the fact that the Black Moon Lilith, Black Moon Lilith, I want to say, can also be associated, with what's one. It can be a formidable adversary, powerful enemy, and the distraction, of this. If you're trying to cope with somebody that's been, a figurative thorn in your side, naturally can make it more difficult for you to be in that comfort zone at this point in time. The Black Moon Lilith is also associated with what we don't want unveiled. We want to keep suppressed. We don't want something we don't want to come out of the closet, basically. And the thing about it is, this is something where you might be, at a point where if you're focusing, so much on that, it may be a situation where you're not overly comfortable, where you're not, in that comfort zone. Now, in the positive end, okay, the South Node being connected with what we feel comfortable in, it's not really what we're supposed to emphasize anyway. But it can also be, a situation where, when you're dealing with something, the negative energy of the Black Moon Lilith, whether it's, and you're something you're trying to not, you want to keep, in the closet, but, the Black Moon Lilith is, again, what we want suppressed, what we don't want to come out. And someone from the past might have a detrimental effect on it. It might be threatening to do something where it might be more difficult for you to keep that energy, that information suppressed that you don't want to come out, whether it's a criminal background, whether it's bizarre habit or fetish or whatever it might be. Somebody from your past might be, maybe it could be where they might be trying to bring that out in the open, or it could be where that energy that's, you don't want to come out, that's very negative, might be harder to actually get away from at this time, more so than usual. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now another way this transit may manifest, it could be where one can be overly fixated and obsessed with what you may naturally be proficient in. Let's say, for example, going back to the South Node in Virgo, in the 5th house as an example, that's my placement. It could be analyzing, which is Virgo, sports matchups, which is the 5th house. It can be also, when you have this transit, there may be more difficulty in keeping what you want suppressed, which is the Black Moon Lilith, from people prominent in your past, which is the South Node. Now, let's say, for example, if the transit Black Moon Lilith is in Gemini in the 8th house, it could be rather, superficial. It could be, which is Gemini, sexual liaisons, which is the 8th house. Now, also to trauma, which is the Black Moon Lilith, may adversely affect what you're trying to leave behind, which is the South Node. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal South Node is in Scorpio in the 11th house, it could be perhaps a very manipulative or controlling, which is Scorpio. It could be a friend, which is the 11th house. Now, also people prominent in your life, people that play a provocative role in your life, which is the Black Moon Lilith, may conflict with that comfort zone, which again is the South Node. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal South Node is in Pisces in the 11th house, it could be doing, something, or it could simply be relaxing, fantasizing with friends. It could be playing, fantasy games with them, or it could be even, maybe could be metaphysical aspirations, goals. Sacrificing for friends as another example. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.